All right, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vivian de Guzman, and I am a human MRI and the #1 money magnet activator. And part of my team is Jade Stone or Jade Williams, and um, she is our business coach and our business manager for Transformational Wellness International. And so I wanted to thank all of you here today for coming. Some of you are in Zoom and of you are in Clubhouse. So in Clubhouse, that's only sound only or audio. So you have to like raise your hand if you have questions for later so I can put you up on the stage. So go ahead and Jade, thank you so much for being here, and the floor is now yours.
Okay, can you guys all hear me okay? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just introduce myself a little bit. I know that Vivian explained a little bit about what you guys are gonna get today, but I want you to understand the different portions of these master classes. If you haven't just signed up for one or you're interested, there's 2 more throughout the week. My guess is that if you're showing up for these, you're looking at either starting a business, you currently own a business, or you're looking at increasing the size of the current business that you have, right? Going through changes. And so that's really the main core of what I deal with. Vivian and I have been working together for a long time, mainly partnering in the actionable items, right, of what it takes to run a business, and then the healing parts of what it takes to run a business. So we can easily sometimes give advice to other people, or it might look so simple for other people, but when we start to do it, our own blocks come up. And so that's why through Vivian's programs, we really have a really easy back and forth of what do we need to do to get it done, to generate revenue, to grow the business, to start the business. And now I also have the support emotionally. And there's really not programs out there that are going to hold you and support you in both of those places. So you might say, I found Vivian and she's very spiritual and she's talking about healing and running a business and all of these things. And I'm very different. I'm on the other side, but that's actually on purpose. That's why Vivian puts together the team that she puts together. And I think if you join us for the other master classes this week, which we would love, you'll see a little bit about each one of us on the team bring something different to the table. And that took a long time for Vivian to build, right? She was very careful on who she chose to do that. So that goes into what we're going to talk about today. If you guys have the option to put anything into the chat, what I'd love to know is where are you at right now in your business? So that might be, I'm in the idea stage. I want to, I'm working, I want to be flexible, I want to be my own boss, and I've dreamed about building a business. I just don't know where to start. So that's me. That might be, I've had a business, it's been really successful, but it's just been me. And I have to start to make hires. I have to start to bring people in. And I'm not really sure how to do that. Okay. If that sounds like you. Or I've been, the crisis with COVID has, really left me in a spot that I have to pivot my business and change how I was doing things. And I would like some help and support in changing that direction. So if you could just kind of let me know, what does that look like for you so that I can speak to, everyone that's here as well as possible. Okay. So I'm going to keep talking, but you guys go ahead and add that into the chat the best that you can so that I can go ahead and see that and respond. Definitely, if you guys have any questions, add that as well. Okay. So what we're going to start off in talking about today is keeping it simple. And if you showed up to talk about your ideal avatar, you may have tried avatars before. you may have an avatar already, right? So what I want you to do during this time is keep it as simple as possible, right? So keep it as simple as possible when we're thinking about these things. The more complex it seems, the harder it's going to be to sell to that person. So I'm going to keep talking about keeping it simple. Why do I really harp on this? Well, for one main reason, a lot of times when I'm talking to people about their avatar, we boil it down and we come to one sentence: this is who your avatar is. And they say, oh, that's it? That seems so simple. That's usually when we're on the right track. Okay. So I want you to, allow yourself to be in that space of having that avatar, and, feeling really confident about, what that looks like. Okay. All right. So let's keep on going here. So, what I want to talk about is this chart. Okay. So I'm going to ask you guys to do a lot of writing as we're going through this. Okay. And we're going to rate each one of these quadrants in a 1 to 10 rating system. Okay. And our rating system is going to look like this. 1 is going to be, I could do a lot better. I really don't do a very good job of making an offer, right? I need help. I'm not comfortable doing it. Number 1. Number 10 would be, I'm solid. I love making offers. Almost every time I make them, I close them, right? So this seems a little a funny place to start, but it's really important when we're talking about your avatars, okay? So what I want you guys to do is draw this on your page. And if you're on Clubhouse and you can't kind of see this, I'm just going to walk you through it. It's fine. You can just use a notepad and a paper. So the first thing I want you to do, and if you don't have a business, what I want you to do is rate these in how comfortable you feel in doing these things, right? So if you haven't made an offer to someone yet, that's okay. How comfortable do you feel in making an offer in the future? Okay. So I'm going to walk through these. I'm going to say them out loud. You guys who can see the screen, go at your own pace. But first part of selling to the right audience is making an offer. So 1 to 10, I want you to rate. Where am I right now at making an offer?
Yeah, I really walk away again. Nice and key.
Okay. The second is creating fan advocates. What does that mean? That means not only are you getting people to come in and buy from you, you're creating raving fans, right? We want that person to be happy. Yes. We want them to buy again. Definitely. We also want them to tell all of their friends about their experience. So for me, it's not just enough, right? When I look at a company, what kind of revenue goals are you hitting? Wonderful. Where are your referrals coming from? Referrals are the easiest, cheapest way to market. And often we don't focus on the fans. We focus on, is that individual happy? But we got to go a step further. Are we creating fans? So 1 to 10, if you have a business or are thinking about launching one, how comfortable are you in knowing, how do I create fans? Okay, we're going to move to the third quadrant, which is closing the deal. Okay, what is involved in closing the deal? Money, right? Being able to say, this is how much my service or my product costs, and standing behind it, feeling confident in closing the deal, right? So how good are you at now understanding, how do I close the deal? Now, if you're at the beginning and you're not sure, what am I even really selling? How do I sell it? Right? That's okay. It might be a 1. That's okay. We just want to look at these 4 quadrants and identify where could you highlight the best, right? So go ahead and rate yourself for closing the deal.
Jade, if I may just share with you, I know you can't see the chat.
Yes.
So Phyllis said she said, yes, I have to hire people now to help with expansion. Shifra said she's building her business, wondering if I go with GoDaddy to get my email domain or use Google with my company name. Vienna is pivoting since COVID, feeling a need to delegate, as I feel overwhelmed with number of responsibilities to launch a new business. Generating consistent cash flow to hire is a challenge. That's where I get it. Okay.
Okay, perfect. So super helpful. So it sounds like the majority of you are already involved in business at this time. So that's helpful for me as we go through this. So the last quadrant is grabbing their attention. So, it's a good point to make if some of you are looking for pivoting advice, right? Like, I need to pivot my current business. What I want you to answer is where your business stands now. Where do these rank? Because we're going to pivot and these are all going to change. But right now, how good are you at grabbing the attention of the people that you want to sell to? Right? So are you in social media and you have groups that have a lot of activity, right? Are you being requested to speak? So you're grabbing a lot of activity. Are you getting referred a lot? So you're grabbing a lot of activity. Okay, 1 to 10 on that one. Okay. Now, if you can see, these 4 quadrants, they make a circle, right? And when we draw them in, like this example that I have up in the right-hand corner, what I want you to think about is if that was a tire, right? How far would you get if that was a tire that was on your car? Not very far, right? See how uneven these are. So the goal isn't get them all at 10. The goal is get them even so that the tire can roll, the business can roll very smoothly, right? So the perfectionists on the call, the ones that want to do it all right? The goal isn't, if you're judging yourself saying, I have all 1s or I have all 2s, I don't care, right? Our goal is let's get 2s all the way around. Then we can get 3s all the way around. My goal is to actually grow small, but evenly. Some people are salespeople, so they love to close a deal, but they go so fast in closing deals, they don't create fan advocates because they move too fast. They just want to sell. Oh, who are you? I want to sell to you. But they don't slow down to take time to create these fan advocates, and that becomes a big problem. So again, remember our goal is how do we even this out? So I want you to look at your own circle and throw in the chat. So Vivian can kind of tell me what we're seeing of where do you feel like you need the most guidance, where you want to kind of focus your energy. Which one of these quadrants? Just type in offer, fan, close the deal, or grab attention.
So there's a comment by Shifra that on social media, she just gets likes on her business page, no comments of commitments or asking more questions. So how do you respond to likes?
Okay, so just getting likes. So likes are very good sign, right? Because when I'm scrolling through, there could be, how often do we like something and we don't necessarily like it, right? We enjoy it, we take it in, and we keep scrolling. So, it takes the average person 7 to 9 times to see one offer before they decide to buy. That's an offer. So I need to see something over and over and over again before I might be just watching, right? And then I decide to buy. This is the biggest thing with social media is people, number 1, judge it too harshly. Number 2, quit too early. So I love that you're looking at, hey, I'm having likes, but I'm not having comments. What does that look like? The first thing I would do is pull your top 10 liked posts or photos. Write them down. What were they? Were they a picture of your service or product? Were they a picture of you doing yoga? Were they a picture of your kids? Were they when you were talking about quotes or journaling? I would find that there would probably be a correlation to what those likes are. Then from there, we are going to put some call to actions in place for those. For example, let's say they are liking, like I had a quote series one time. So when I did this, people loved the quotes and then what I was writing below with a call to action, like a journal prompt, because people were saying, oh, I would like to get into journaling, people that aren't journaling, but I don't know what I'm supposed to write. And so I did a journaling prompt. Here's a question of the day. This is what it could look like, right? I even created PDFs they could print out. They loved that. So I took off of that to say, show me a picture of your first journal entry. And then people started commenting, right? Because I was going after what they wanted. Now, if I had just come on and posted and said, show me your favorite exercise move, maybe that, like, my group isn't into that, right? Like they're over here trying to get into slowing down and journaling and meditating. And here I'm talking about hardcore working out. And it's not the people that are there, right? So sometimes, we just worry about how do we show up and what should we say instead of really looking at what are the people telling you. So that's my advice to everyone. Vivian knows. Any question she asks me, I'm like, let's look at the data. What does the data say? Let's look at that first. Then we'll go to an intuition gut check because that absolutely is important. But often we start from a judgment place and then we go backwards. Instead of just saying, hey, who's showing up now? Right? Anyone that has hired me in this time to help them pivot, the first thing I say is who's still showing up. Because the people that are still showing up are going to show us how we pivot. Okay. Vivian, anything else in the chats? What are other people feeling like as far as the quadrants?
So far, Vienna also says fan, closing the deal needs the most help for me. That's what her intention is. I get people to enroll for individual offerings. However, I do not have fans. I echo the likes but no comments that the earlier person said. Those are the comments.
I want you guys to put in, how often are you showing up on social media? So anyone who commented about that, can you type in the chat for me? How often do you show up? And is it a post? Is it a video? What does it look like?
And Teddy also says, same for me, closing the deal.
Okay.
Teddy did her initial launch last week wherein she did a free masterclass for like a whole week every single day. And then it's like crickets, right? So that's the next question is, where do they show up? Where does she go for those people? Like, what environment should she go to next so that
Perfect.
she can find her right avatar?
Perfect. So when we go through these kind of prompting questions, I'm going to call them, about the avatar, I think that might help you, Teddy, because the first thing, very common, right? A lot of people come to me and say, hey, I'm not selling either at all or enough, right? And it's really the same thing. The first thing we're going to go to is, how clear is the message of what you sell, and how clear do you know who you sell to? Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about. So goal here is, I want you guys to set your own goal, right? If closing the deal is where you want to go and you're at a 1 or a 2, let's have a goal of where we want to go. Maybe it's 3 or 4. I don't want you to go to 10. I want us to just make smaller goals to even out, again, that tire, right? So if you're really good at grabbing their attention, but you're not so good at the deal, where do we have to get? Do we have to get up to a 5? Okay, then that's going to be our goal moving forward.
A little bit more data. Shifra said she posts 1 to 3 times a week on social media. Teddy said it's interesting, 4 people registered, yet only 1 to 2 attended. And it was mostly my team and friends, but 24 registered.
Super good data. Very interesting data. A lot of data to go into. Right? What can we look at of those 24 people? Right? So like I could totally go off, and I don't want to go off on Teddy. We can have a call one-on-one because we've had before that we can kind of dig into that, because I want to make sure that everybody gets this. There's a lot to dig in there to find out what happened. And what I would say is the biggest thing is not getting discouraged. You guys are front hands of, anyone that's been in business for a while, has had those launches, has had those things that just didn't go how you thought, regardless of what it looked like. And moving forward and keeping moving is the only thing that's going to get you through that, right? So we're going to go into some questions that I'm going to ask. And so the goal of this mastermind is to get your eyes open to how well do I know my avatar. So what I don't want is the people who are in business to say, I sell cakes for birthdays. So that's what I do. Okay, great. Who's your avatar? Well, anyone who wants to buy a cake. Is it? Right? What kind of cakes do you sell? Well, I like to do characters, or I like to do fondant, right? Okay, so like birthday events, right? Fancy birthday events or weddings. Okay, great. Who's buying that normally, right? Moms, women. Okay, so do you sell to women? Do you sell to man? Like that's where we get into. It's not just I sell cakes and anyone who wants to buy a cake. Because marketing wise, you're going to miss those people, right? I have a client, a bike shop. I like this example because it seems like, well, anyone who wants to buy a bike. No, because this bike is high priced. These are like mountain bikes, like $20,000 bikes. So you don't really sell a bike to anyone. You sell a bike to athletes that are in triathlons. You sell, right? You're going to go somewhere way different to get the clientele for that. But if you're just trying to say, I sell bikes, you're going to have a lot of foot traffic. You're going to have a ton of people come in. And then they're going to say, oh, I wanted to buy a bike for my son. He's going to grow out of in a year. And these are like $20,000 marathon bikes, right? So traffic will be there, but buying won't, because you drew in the wrong people. So the first place that I start is, what emotion are you trying to solve? Let's use that example for the cake, right? I'm a cake maker for parties. Okay, great. Is that emotion, I'm a mom that loves to throw big parties, right? My best friend she literally has to top herself every year. I'm not like a party person. I don't really care. I'll go to Publix and get a cake probably the day before, and he'll be fine, right? That's just the mom I am. But she's like, it has to be the best cake. I need someone who can design something for me and make it bigger and better and his favorite character and all that, right? So if I'm someone who she's going to spend $200 on a cake, I'm not. So they need to market to her, not me, right? That emotion of, don't you want it to be bigger and better than the last, birthday? Are you out of ideas for new things, right? That's totally going to call to her. You know what would call to me? Buy a birthday package for $200, decorations, cake, everything planned and done for you, so you don't have to think about it. That would sell me, right? That my emotion of, oh my gosh, it's a birthday party. I have so much else going on. I'm not creative, right? I don't really want to create these things. Someone who does it. Here's a good example. Anybody have kids, mute if they're around, but the elf on the shelf craze, right? Like, get this elf and it's going to do all these things, right? It's a nightmare if you have a kid, because you go to bed and you forget to move the elf or do something with the elf. Genius. This girl reached out to me. She created DIY kits for the elf. So like, you go on Pinterest, you're supposed to, all these elf is supposed to do all this fun little stuff. I'm not that mom, right? So she created 30 days of packets. 1, 2, literally, here the elf is fishing. There's goldfish. There's a little fishing pole. You set it up, you're done. She sold out. She made, like, it was hand making them. This is 2 years ago. Hand making them, like 1,500 of them. Sold out at Thanksgiving. Gone. So this year, she started making them all year. Again, she sold out within 3 days at 5,000, right? And she's literally a stay-at-home mom. She was doing it for fun. But what emotion did she solve? That panic of, I can't ruin the magic for my kid. So but I'm not creative. Oh, I'll spend $50 with you so that the problem's solved, right? That emotion is what made her product go off the shelf in minutes, right? So I want you to take a minute and write, what emotion are you trying to solve? Share in the chat too, as we go through this, what that looks like. The actual emotion. Sorry, I'll go back.
We have a good feedback. Vienna said, great example for bike shop, so clear. And Shifra said, I'm only inviting like-minded people to my business page, and my intuition is they want my services for free or trade.
So are you saying that you're invite only to your group? Shifra, is that what you're saying? I'll give you a second to write back.
Yeah, that's a yes for her.
Okay, so that's one thing I would consider looking at, because invite only, we don't always know what are you trying to accomplish by invite only? That would be my question. And as she's typing, my gut, sometimes people, you don't want the wrong energies. You don't want, people who aren't on board. Like, I can definitely understand that. So is it kind of along those lines?
She said, we all do something different, and I use their services.
Okay. So I would need to know kind of a little more info, but in general, when you're talking about, do we do invites or accepting? I think that we want to be careful not to assume what our buyer needs and wants, right? And sometimes our buyer could look different than we think, right? But they're just quiet. They're a more quiet buyer. They don't want to come out and say, this is actually what I'm looking for. So when we keep everything closed and not everyone can see you, right? You are going to stifle the amount of traffic that you get. Now, what's the opposite of that? You show yourself, which is very vulnerable, right? And you're going to get people that aren't your people. Now, that's where Vivian comes in, right? To deal with, how do we do that, right? Like, if Vivian kept herself closed, she wouldn't be on many continents, which she is, right? International, which she is. Like, she would have never been next to these people that are in many countries, right? But she had to expose herself. What does that mean? Does that mean some people that are going to say things that we don't want to hear, right? Or mean or nasty? Yeah, it does. But if you're strong enough in where you stand, that's okay, because you're still letting the right people in, right?
Yeah, Shifra's response is, we're all intuitive. I invite. I don't desire the judgment from people that aren't my people. LOL.
Totally. And I think that that's super important to do. And it's super important to have boundaries, right? In your business and outside of your business. What I would say is then, who is in that group, thinking as we're going through these questions, how similar are they? Right? And maybe those people in your group, we just have to get more of them. So maybe the question becomes, how do we find them? Right? But in order to find them, we need to be really specific. And you'll see the last slide is going to be very specific in what they look like. Okay. So what emotion are you solving? Okay. From there. So for me, there's a lot of emotions why people hire me. Usually, it's overwhelm. Usually they want structure, right? And they're looking for, give me the steps and I'll do it. Usually they're looking for, I'm spending so much time doing this, all of these detailed parts, I'm not actually getting to do what I love. Whether it's healing, whether it's artistry, right? Like, I want to do my thing and I want the rest to be taken care of, Okay. So when clients first reach out to me, they're looking for clarity, right? So knowing that, who is that client when they first reach out? Right? Meaning, all of those things that I just said, right? It might be someone that says, I've been doing it this way and it's been working fine. And all of a sudden it stopped working because I'm now at another level and then it's not working. So I don't know what to do, right? It's been just me. I don't know how to bring people into the team. So identify for you and throw some in the chat so we can give some examples. Who is your client when they first reach out?
I have one from Teddy. She says, the emotion I'm solving is unhappiness and hanging on to the past that no longer serves my client. And then for Vienna, with the emotion code, negative emotion release business, I've pivoted to, I'm solving 60 negative emotions, LOL. What I felt that it solved for me and made me feel passionate to start this business is probably the emotion of overwhelm. And for Shifra, it's the emotions are peace and happiness.
Okay, good. And those of you that I would challenge you that this is where the explanation comes. The emotion you're solving should be one word. And it's hard because I get it. I could pick a lot of them, but if I had to pick one, you made me pick one, it would be overwhelm, right? That is an actual emotion. So it's very important that you just leave on the emotion only one word.
For Teddy, her client is unhappy.
Unhappy. Perfect. Okay. So with Teddy, what you have to be careful is that you take on trying to make them happy, right? So because that can be hard. That can feel like if I'm not doing it, they're still unhappy, there's something wrong with me. And you don't want that. Just like for me, I can lead a horse to water, but if they don't do the things that we talk about in the order that we talk about, they're still going to be overwhelmed. But I can't make that mean something about me, right? So I can offer my services and do my best. But if they're not ready, they're not ready. Just like, if your clients aren't ready to be happy, they're not going to be happy. But you know where you're starting from, right? And you know your ultimate goal and making sure that they're on the same page. Okay. So who they are when you first reach out, we talked about. What is going well in their life and what is not going well. This is important because a lot of people just look at what's not going well, right? We say they're unhappy, they're not exercising, they're not eating well, they've lost themselves. It's really easy to do the right hand of this list. It's not so easy to do the left. And often we don't even talk to our clients about this as much. But it's really important part of you picking out the pieces that are going to help them get from one step to another. Because for Teddy, for example, that unhappy person, if she doesn't start to get them to build, they can stay in victim mode the whole time. And you don't want someone in victim mode in your program because it's going to be really draining for you. So you've got to know the things that are working well because that's what we're going to pull off of, right? So I'm just going to give you a second to jot down going well, going not well.
So for Shifra, her program, she would like to create happiness. For Vienna, the problem she's solving is overwhelm. For Shifra, her clients are lost. And Teddy says, I love what Jade is saying. This is building from the positive they currently have.
Right. And it's making them, because a lot of people, they'll find something. They're not going to say nothing. If they're nothing is going right, everything is so horrible. Okay, you are dealing with someone in true victim form. And then you get to decide, right, if you want to help that kind of person, right? Because that person, you have to be ready to get out of victim mode, right, and move forward. Some people want to live in the past. But the difference is you've got to know they're at the point that they're ready for something to change. Okay. So I'll give you an example maybe of one of my clients. What's not going, what's going well is they've stuck it out. I'll give you a current example. They've stuck it out. Their business was thriving. COVID hit. It changed live events. They did a lot of live events and they were really, really good at doing live events, right? And so that was going really well. They had a team. They did live events. They generated a lot of revenue. They had a plan. It was quarterly. They knew when, how, everything was locked and loaded. What's not going well is that disappeared. That equation disappeared, right? So what are they searching for now is how do we replace that? That's a lot of mindset stuff, right? Because a lot of those people could get stuck in, it was so good and then this happened for us. Or, hey, when live events return one day, we're going to know how to do that. This is giving us an opportunity to learn a new part of business. So how do we replace the revenue, right? It's actually a very simple problem. How do we replace the revenue that we generated with live events? I'm not saying it's easy, but it's simple. You can complicate it, but anyone on this call's job as a mentor, a leader, a coach is to help simplify, right? And pull out that overwhelm. They're good at doing the overwhelm. So you keep them on the simple, okay? So good and not good. Okay. Then from, they've talked about the good and the not good. Of that not good, right? Because once you get somebody talking about what's going wrong and then they're talking about their mother-in-law and their sister and like you get a lot of things going on, right? And that's for Vivian. That's you can throw that all to Vivian. But as far as on this side, we want to be super clear about, especially if you're in a service-based, which part of that can I help you with? Because I'm not taking on it all. I'm not taking on maybe your divorce or other things that are going on, right? Like if you're hiring me to help you, me specifically, in building a business, right? Now, is that involved in your life? Yes, and it will come up, but you want to make them very clear, and you want to be clear about what you do and what you don't do, right? So, for example, in my business, what parts of their life cause them most frustration? I mentioned one of them, which is all of this stuff, because there's not systems put in place, right? I just it was just me and I put band-aids on, or I had some people and they betrayed me. And so I'm scared to trust people again. So I just went back to doing it myself, but it's killing me, right? I'm either overworked, I'm not spending enough time with my family, I don't have a balance, and I can't do what I love. Like I did this business because I want to do what I love. And I'm so worried about the structure that I can't do what I love. That's at the top. Why is that important for me to know that about the person that's buying for me? Because when I get on lives, when I post, when I do talks, I talk about structure. I talk about how the word structure affects some people, how they don't like it, right? And I talk about how, when's the last time that you got to enjoy your entire day start to finish, right? Or what would an ideal day for you being a CEO be? And those are my best conversations, because the CEO will go, well, oh, like I'd love to do this, but I don't just get to do what I want. And the reality is they do. They just kind of forgot it because they're the boss. But we forget that the bigger that our businesses grow and the more people that depend on us, which that it should be, right? Because there is a responsibility of, hey, I'm the one who's in charge of paying these people that feed their families and depend on this paycheck. And there's a lot of responsibility attached to that, right? But we still have to take care of ourselves. So knowing, because I know that, because that's, I can easily talk to someone and close an offer because that person is going to relate. Now, let's say the biggest frustration is, I don't know, I'm going through a divorce. And so, he wants custody of the kids and this is going on and it's a battle with the business and I don't know what I own and what I don't. I'm not saying I can't help that person, but to be honest, it's not my avatar. like their confusion is legally bound to who owns the business and does what. It really has nothing to do with generating more money or growing or leading. Like that's a whole nother thing, right? So that might look like somebody, oh, she's a business owner, I can probably help her. She's not my ideal avatar, because the things that I'm going to be talking about are, what's your strategy? What does quarter one look like? What does quarter two look like? And if it's like, well, I'm in court for the next year to even decide what I own and what I don't, not a lot we can do. I'm not going to take her money because we're not a good fit. So it's important that I know that, right? What script is on repeat in their head? Type in some of these for me. And I'll give you guys some, for my clients, it might look like, I'm so overwhelmed. I wish I had a second. Should I just go back and get a real job? It was easier when I was just doing this myself. Those are some of the things that sometimes entrepreneurs that hire me feel and think. What about you guys?
So let's read some of the comments, right? So Shifra said that so many Americans believe they are victims these days, and that's just in the collective. Vienna says, not going well, getting triggered in emotion several times a day, very little hope of change from past strategies, desperate to find solution. Communication keeps failing, not feeling fulfilled. Now the going well portion is plugging along steadily in one foot in front of the other. I have historically thought of a structure as a cage, because she's also a rib specialist, the rib cage.
Yeah.
I can see it could be a scaffold or a ladder to climb and build. Don't know how to shift perspective. That's a very good example, actually. Yes.
So yes, it is. And actually, in my website, and a lot of my copywriting, I explain, if I come and I meet with someone, especially like a 1 to 2 business owner, is you have the foundation. I'm going to help you build the scaffolding. That's actually the words that I use. And why do I use those words? Because I know, like you said, people that don't like structure don't like that word. Right? And they don't want to be involved in it. They don't really want to talk about it.
Right.
They will find something else to do instead of it. Right? So you're 100% right. And another thing that I use is, and this isn't like sorcery or tricking them, right? This is just speaking to what I could explain what I do so many different ways. But I want you to hear me so that you give me the chance, right, to change your business. So if I know that your business means more to you than anything else because you've built it from the ground up, that if me saying, look, you're the visionary, right? I'm going to help build the scaffolding around the foundation of what you created without changing the vision and the culture that you want. Usually that's very important to the people that hire me, because they don't want this person coming and changing the foundation, right? What they believe, like they know exactly what they want there. It's just all the other stuff, right? What does HR have to do with it when this happens? How do I add accounting and how do I add a CEO? Like that's all the stuff that happens, right? So you're 100% right. Using the words matters, right? Where to me, it would be comfortable for me to say, hey, let's knock out a plan and we're going to put it up on the board and we're going to see all the structure and you're going to know every single day what you're doing. That would make me feel good. A lot of my clients, they're like, that seems like a lot, right? So I can't talk in those terms. I have to talk in terms that they feel comfortable supporting and at a pace that they support.
Yes. Teddy, I think this is for the script they play in their head on repeat. I failed another diet. That's for Teddy's clients. And then Shifra says, I don't like structure unless it's to get to the next level. Like when I decided to lose weight and get fit, I made the decision to follow what fit and healthy do. That would be the same here.
Yeah, so good point. So what I actually heard a lot of you say is whether it's yourselves or whether it's the people that you're selling to, they're chugging along, but they still can't get there, right? They want hope. They want to know they can, but it feels very hard. Okay. we are the ones to help them through that. Okay. And that's where, if they have hope, great clients. If they're stuck in that victim, and I agree, at this point, it's very easy to say, poor me, poor us, poor family, poor this, poor that, right?
Mhm.
But it's up to us to help them see. And that's why positive questions like, we're going to get to what's going wrong, but tell me what's going good, helps that conversation so much, right? Also a question like, tell me about a time, maybe they explained something to me where they said, the business just failed. Like, I'm going to have to close down. But what will I do? I'm going to have to start a new business, but now I'm a failure. Okay, I might ask them a question like, tell me a time, the first thing that pops into your head, a time that you failed and got back up again.
Mm.
And it might be, I failed my math test and then I asked my teacher for a retake and I got a B. Like, sometimes they think of really funny things, but your intuition always speaks up. And so then that's what you're giving them, that lifeline to say. You're not a failure, write that script. I'm a failure now, so I don't deserve to run a business. How silly is that? We've all seen the articles about who failed what, how old people were when they made it big, right? Like every business owner has a failed business, right? It's easy to read that stuff, but it's hard to be in that space and not internalize it. And that's the part of mentoring and coaching that you guys need to sell is there will be slip ups. There will be times that you're not 100% motivated to go there in that direction and up. But that's why you're paying me.
Yep.
For those little small moments where you question it, that we can redirect you. And so then it's those steps, right? Towards where you're going. So the second part of the first part is lending that hand to give them a mirror of what's positive, right? The second thing is if they don't know where they're going, it is so easy to get lost. So easy, right? Meaning, like Sheffer, you said, look, when I decided, and you could probably say more about what did those fitness goals look like, right? Was it a number? Was it, I want to fit into these pants? Was it, I'm only going to eat vegan? Like there was some kind of structure you put when you decided I wanted to get healthy. You decided what healthy looked like. I might say it's different, right? That goal, whatever that was, it could be different, but sometimes it helps to have someone talk about, let's talk about where we're going. And too many people start before they even think about where they're going.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I did a talk with a large company and they asked, what would it take for you to take this contract? Because there's a lot of negotiables that I would have to change. Like, where are you right now? And what is driving you? And my answer right now in this season is flexibility. Sometimes it's money. Right now it's flexibility. I've got a really good thing. I have a 4-year-old. I have a new puppy. My husband's still working from home, right? What my family needs from me and what's making me the most happy is that I'm flexible.
Mm-hmm.
One day I might decide I want to build a new house. It's going to be money for 2 years because I'm going to save and I'm going to do it. And it's going to totally change. And I'm going to give up certain things to do that. But right now, that's where I'm going. And that's what I ask myself. Is that hard? Yes. I'm not built to say no to things. I'm not built to have opportunities come by and let them keep going. That it was a very hard thing for me to understand. But once I knew and identified, I love when my life looks like this. I love when my business looks like this. Then that's all I'm asking myself in this, right? Same goes for the people that you're selling to, your avatar. Don't try to sell to too many people. You're going to get people you wish weren't your clients. And people told me this when I first started. And I was like, you're crazy. If anybody's going to pay me, I'm saying yes. No way I'll say no to people. And I did exactly what they said not to do, took the wrong clients, regretted it, had to get out of it. I mean, the whole thing. So just trust your intuition that not every person is for you, and that's okay.
All right.
I'm getting
there's a comment, Jade, from Vienna. She said, I'm so encouraged, Jade. I love how you honor free flow and intuition. I felt afraid to consult with someone like you about my business because I hadn't met anyone who could incorporate both. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much for that feedback. I really appreciate it.
And there's one more comment. Shifra
Yep.
said she's big boned, and I used that as an excuse. I am still big boned. However, I am now firm in most places on my body and still a work in progress. And I feel better eating healthier. I realize I don't have to be skinny or thin. And I second that, Diana, whatever Diana mentioned.
Love it. Love that example, right? And what did you do?
Oh,
You
uh,
used,
Jade, excuse me. I think you fell off of Clubhouse.
oh,
We have
okay.
Monica there with us, so please make sure
Okay.
you're in Clubhouse. There you go. Thank you.
Back in? Okay. Thank you guys for that feedback. I love that. And I love that example. And that example is what you want to be able to talk to someone who, anyone who said they struggle with making an offer. The stories that you guys are telling now are the stories that come up in your offer, right? So if it's, hey, what are you going to help me do? Well, I help you, change certain mindsets. I help you create the scaffolding around where you want to go. Let me give you an example. When I decided to get healthy, I had to create some scaffolding, and there were things in my head that I had on repeat. Let me give you an example. One was, I'm big boned, and that meant something, that I couldn't lose weight. I couldn't look this way. And this is what I did about it. You give me something that's going through your head. You'll connect with somebody that when you say, and it's $5,000 to work with me, they're like, oh, that's it? How can I pay? How fast can I pay? Because you've created an emotional bond with them. So you'll hear, throughout this week, different speakers that are going to talk about marketing and selling and all of that. And that's, love it, right? I love those places. I could talk forever, and it's hard for me to just stay here. But why we have an hour almost talk on just the avatar is none of that works if you don't understand who you're selling to. You'll miss it, right? So for me, you giving me that feedback, you know what it tells me? I'm in my client avatar space. That you picked up that I even said gut or intuition, right? Someone super corporate would be like, I don't even know, what does that even mean, right? That would totally go over their head. But to you, it was like, bam, selling point. That means I'm with the people, I'm with my right people. And that's why I'm here, and not in certain areas where if a CEO isn't going to be open to giving their people meditation or yoga or investing in them, right? The CEOs that come to me and they want a fix now, and I ask, the first thing I say is, how much have you spent on your people in the pandemic? The ones that are like, well, we had to cut out all the extra programs, we're hemorrhaging money and all of that. It was just not a good fit. The ones that are like, we haven't changed anything. We have life coaches. We have this. I'll have a further conversation with, because no matter what, they put their people first, right? So people will tell me all the time, oh, our people are first. Okay, cool, great. And then I ask them that, how much money do you spend on them outside, right? What kind of things do you offer them? And it tells me right away the person I'm dealing with, right? But I'm very intentional. If I just went in and said, oh, this is so great, I get to meet with the CEO, I want to try to make them happy because this could be a big contract, I'd be miserable working with someone who was like, and I've done it. So like, I'm saying it from actual experience of, fix my people. There's nothing wrong with me as a CEO, but you need to fix my people, right? I can't do much with that because I believe that leadership comes from the top down, right? Okay. What are they craving the most of? Okay. So this is an interesting, because this is like your deliverables, right? So as you get into what are you selling, what are they needing the most of? And this can change. So for me, what are they needing the most of? Well, we've talked about it. They need a little bit of that scaffolding. They need a little bit of advice. They need a little bit of direction, but not too much, right? Not to where I plan out every minute, because they're going to say, oh, they're just going to ghost. They won't show up, because that seems scary, because their freedom and their flexibility and their ability to not have a to-do list every day is really important to them. So really what they're craving is support, right? And this is a thing that I'm very open about, is you hire me to tell you sometimes the hard truths. I'm not just a cheerleader, right? I can be very motivating. Yes, that's just in me. But as Vivian can attest, there are some times that I'll say, all right, I know this is where you are, what you're saying. I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. And sometimes she'll say, thanks, never thought about that, but I'm still going to This is still how I feel. Or, wow, thanks. I didn't think about that. I need to reset. Let me go think through this and we'll talk about it next time, right? I'm going to go meditate on it. I'm going to go think through it. I'm going to get a download on it and then we'll talk about it again. And that's the great partnership that you want when you're looking at hiring a mentor or someone. So what are they craving the most? What am I trying to deliver? And this one can change. It's why I like having clarity calls to determine. And, I'll say questions like, in 30 days, whatever they're hiring me for, 30 days or 3 months, what do you want this experience to look like? Where do you want to be at the end of 90 days? And I have them detail that out for me, because then I can say, oh, we can't get there in 90 days, right? We need more time. I'll be honest, right? Or we need to put some foundational things in place before we can reach that. But this is what I think. I'm straight up off the bat, because then I'm not going through the program wondering, am I under delivering, over delivering? I don't have to worry about that as much. Okay, so here are just some more. I'm going to go through these a little faster. I want you to write them down so that we can talk about them, at another time as well. What are they worrying about? I think you guys probably have a list of those. You mentioned those. Core life beliefs. This one's funny. And these are one words, right? So like my core life beliefs: trust, integrity, honesty, unconditional love. Those are core beliefs of mine. So anytime I have a decision, I go back to my core beliefs. Understanding what someone's core life beliefs are is important. So having that in there, you need to know. Okay. Why now? One of my favorite questions when I'm doing a call with someone. Why now? Because usually it's like, I've been wanting to do this forever. I've been thinking about it, or I'm just, why now? Having them put that into context makes the sale so much easier, because then they hear the money, oh, it's so expensive, but I already know what's triggering them to get it now. So I can speak to that. I can help them through if it's just that they're scared, right? What is holding them back from moving forward? What has held them back in the past is really important. Okay, I'm going fast because I'm running out of time. 5 Facebook groups and blogs, magazines, anything else, like where do these people hang out, right? So again, my people aren't necessarily in a weight loss group. There might be some business owners in a weight loss group, for sure. But me doing heavy marketing to a weight loss group is not going to be as beneficial as, what's the group, if Vivian, you were talking about today, like bosses, like Asian bosses or something like that.
Asian women who boss up, right?
Yeah.
Like those are business people.
That would be a much better group for me to spend my time in, my energy in, than a women's weight loss group. They're both women groups, right? But one is going to give me, could there be, and this is what I find when people are trying to determine their avatar is, well, it could be this, it could be men, right? It could be women. It could be, well, the majority, I have men, but I don't market to men. If I get referred a man, great. But my core values are more women in power, putting more women in positions to make a difference. So that's what I market to. It doesn't mean that I'm the boss. I can do whatever I want. But I don't spend money on marketing to men because it would be very confusing, the things that I'm saying to a woman and a man. Okay? So think about that. So here's like a recap that I just want you to run through, and I'm going to be quiet for a minute, try, and see how far can you get that it just comes off the tip, right? So what's their gender? How old are they? Where do they live? Single or married? Do they have children? What's their occupation? What's their salary? What do they like to do with their time? What's inside the parentheses? What do they really want in life? What other brands or products are they interested in? What else are they buying? Super important one. And where do they go? What kind of things do they like? Do they like LinkedIn? Do they like Instagram because they like scrolling? They're very visual, right? So if some of you are looking at this and saying, I mean, I don't know, it could be this, it could be this. These are the 3 misconceptions, and then I'm going to let you guys have a hot seat, ask me any questions that you want. Number 1, when you're creating your avatar, nothing is set in stone. This is the biggest mistake that I think people make, is they feel like once they claim it, it can never change. And that's not true. Now, do I want you changing your avatar every week? No. But I've been in business for years and I've changed my avatar a couple times. It's gotten clearer and clearer and clearer, right? And so every 3 months, 6 months, year, I relook at, does she look different? Is she changing? Right? So it's a process. So when you get off this call, we're going to have follows up. So, follow all of Vivian's groups and look, we're going to have, things that support once you've picked your avatar. Now what? But when you get off this call, I want you to say, you know what? If I wasn't getting graded, if I didn't have to worry about doing it perfect, who would my avatar be? Fill this chart out, right? What would they look like? And just take a stab at it. The second thing is you only have to do it once. That's another misconception. Like I said, it's going to be a process and you're going to do it again. Okay. And the third thing is you will lose money by narrowing down to one simple avatar. I hear it a lot, right? Well, I can't say no to people, or I could do this and I could do this. And it's so wide. And guys, I get it. I was there. I did not want to niche down. But it is so true that when you start to do it, it's so much easier. So don't worry about niching down as much as answering these questions, because that will be niche down enough, right? And that's how you do it if you follow this process. Okay, I could keep talking about this forever. I know we're at time, so I want to stop and let anyone who has questions for me, Vivian, if you could help me out with the chat.
Sure. And it says here, oh, Shifra had a question on,
Okay.
I have no idea what groups to go to. I have a few things I do. Okay. I think maybe address she has a few things I do. It's kind of like me I remember myself a few years ago when I had so many certifications and I don't know where to go, right? Because I'm like, I can really help everybody. That was the wrong thing to do. So just from experience, when I wrote the medical intuitive book, right? I remember that I had a hard time even niching down what to write in the book, because I thought everybody can use energy work, which is true from my end. I was trying to be the helpful healer, trying to heal everybody, but not everybody wants to heal. That was the revelation I got. And even I got so confused, because you're almost like expanded and then they want you to be in a container. But the liberating part for me was when I realized that I would only help this kind of person, which is I only had 2 things, right? They have to want to change, right? They want to have to experience transformation. They want it themselves. They're craving it. And they can pay my fees. And those were the only 2 criteria that I did. I didn't know who they were. And then I just trusted the process, because I realized the higher I charged, the less people can access me, but also the less people can access that energy. So it became very potent, and the container was created using an avatar. So when I didn't have an avatar, I was like running around with like a chicken with a head cut off, spending time creating classes that are super affordable. I remember $97 a long time ago, right? Doing one-on-one healing, group healing, but it was a lot of work. I can tell you guys, I've learned so much from that. Like I have to have a class every week or every month because I can't keep up with the expenses, right? Does that make sense? Versus when I created a big, like a funnel, like a container, and I said, these are the only people who can come in here, nobody else. It worked. Then I was able to hire my teammates, and I pretty much went up that way. So I know it's very uncomfortable, especially when we're multi-talented. It doesn't mean you're not multi-talented. You're just directing your energy to like like a little entrance, like a door. And then they're like, okay, they'll tell you what they need or what they want. Then you create that again. And that's how the business got built. So I just want to share that insight. I hope that helped you guys. It's a process and it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's very true, and I can attest to everything that Vivian said, because I was, in the passenger seat with her going through all of those changes and growth. So the one thing that I would say is what I said at the beginning of this presentation is keeping it simple. And there's a book that I think is a great book. It's a really easy read. It's called The One Thing. And it really changed. I was a multitasker, and I can multitask faster than anyone and do things. And I read this book and it changed how I felt about doing one thing versus a lot of things years ago. So I definitely recommend that. And what I would say is just pick one. Okay. I'm not saying don't do anything. I'm saying for at least 30 days, just pick one of the things that you do. Because the reason why it's hard to pick the groups that you want to go to or might be interested in is all the other things. So you're trying to fit all the things that you do into one group, and that's hard, right? Where if I'm just saying I'm looking for women entrepreneurs starting or scaling a business, it's a lot easier for me to find groups that are in or out. Mm-hmm. If I sell cakes, I sell, gourmet birthday cakes to women for kids' birthday parties. Okay, that's easier, right? Then I sell cakes and cookies and juices and sandwiches sometimes, maybe, right? So I'm using those examples, but that's sometimes how it could feel. So that would be my advice. Pick one thing and do this process with just one thing so far.